to know who built them and how long ago. Tell us about the structures on the moon. Tell us all we have a right to know. Will we ever get to go?
How did you and Bob Dean actually meet? What were the first words that you guys said, or where did you run into each other for the very first time?
I was in the street in front of his house or mine. He said, I understand you're Air Force. I said, yeah. He says, I'm Army. And he said he was retired, and I was retired, so we got to visiting each other.
When I retired from the military in 1976, I bought a house in Tucson. I retired from the Presidio of San Francisco, where I had been a command sergeant major there at the 6th Army headquarters. Bought a house in Tucson, moved to Tucson, so help me. The house I moved into was directly across the street from Wendell Stevens. Talk about coincidence. So, our friendship blossomed more.
At that time I was working for the Sheriff's Department. He was the deputy sheriff, and he was bringing a staff car home at night, parking it in his garage. But he fascinated me because he had been to Japan, and he got interested in the Japanese swords. He had a nice collection of swords on the wall in his house. Got by, we used to just get together and drink beer in either his yard or mine and talk.
So whenever we were together, when we were in the same town, we would share information. As I said, we were both part of APRO for many years, until Coral and Jim died, and we had to put APRO to bed. We both had learned the reality of the extraterrestrial presence, and I think that's kept us good, close friends for years. And I've known him and considered him a good and dear friend for many years. We have a lot in common, particularly this interest in the phenomenon, as people like to refer to it, the so-called alien presence. I hate the word UFO. I just don't like to use it because it's so silly. It doesn't really say anything. We're talking about a presence of extraterrestrial intelligence on planet Earth. And Wendell and I share that view. His mail, as you probably have heard him say, was monitored very closely. Mine was too, matter of fact. His telephone line was bugged. My telephone was bugged. Just being members of APRO, I think, being on the board, we attracted attention from whoever shall remain nameless, but somebody bugged our phones, monitored our mail, and let me tell you something. They attempted to threaten me a number of times over the years, particularly when I came out of the closet, so to speak, and began speaking publicly and openly about what I had seen and what I had learned. There were attempts to intimidate me and threaten me. And I threatened right back. Wendell was an officer and a gentleman. I had been a commissioned officer for some years before. When I was in Korea, I was an infantry officer. But after the RIF 1956, reduction in force, I reverted back to enlisted grade and worked my way up to command sergeant major, and I was a grunt. I was an infantry officer. I was a field soldier. And I carried a gun, and still do. I don't have one on me at the moment, but, I carry guns. And when I was threatened, I threatened right back. And I think my first marriage went on the rocks because of my involvement with the UFO field. My first wife, my son's mother, was scared to death of the whole subject. Because I said we had our phone bugged and our mail was disturbed, and we were followed in traffic many times. And, they had a repertoire of little processes where they intimidated you. The phone calls probably were the worst. As I said, my first wife, I think our marriage went on the rocks because of the UFO field. But I was not easily intimidated. Having been an infantry soldier and being a grunt, both in Korea and Vietnam, I was not the kind to take kindly to someone trying to threaten me. And I put it out publicly. If you mess with me, bear in mind that I'm packing, I carry a gun, and I'll defend myself.
And the government is not going to open the files. We have people, prominent people, that know all about what the government is sitting on. Dick Cheney, vice president, was photographed at level 2 of S4 looking at one of 7 crash disks.
I had sat on the information for a long time after I got it because I never knew whether it was a disinformation ploy or not. And then I had decided to accept the speaking engagement in Australia, an invitation, and as soon as I did, they asked me what subject. I told them I was going to introduce a new subject that hadn't been published yet. A day or two later, I got a telephone call, a surprise telephone call, an anonymous voice that says, "Stevens, be damn sure you know what you're doing." So my feeling at the time was, I got to risk it sooner or later. It was 10 years after the fact. The man was gone. I thought if they attack it and discredit it, well, if they don't, I win. If they do, I still win, because they now have confirmed it. I did get a call when I got back warning me that I'm going too far with these. That convinced me that maybe it wasn't a ploy, that maybe there was something to it, and so I decided to release it here after that, and I did at the conference, and nothing happened there. But then I began to think that maybe I had acquired a stature that they began to fear doing something to me. They knew what I knew, that to confirm the story by doing something to me would only activate a whole bunch of other investigators that would want to know what happened to me and why. Kind of the safety that Bob Lazar had. I got a call one time from, I get a lot of calls, and this man said that he'd like to come over and look at pictures. I usually discourage that. And he said that he had some pictures for me. I said, "Oh, to trade we can exchange?" He said, "Yes, we can exchange." And I said, "Well, okay, come on over then." And he said, "I'll see you," and he hung up. And about an hour later, I got another call from him. He said that he had checked out of his apartment, gone to the bank to get some money, and when he put his card in the teller,